VIBErations podcast, part 42, Asha Sridhar. Recorded on the 3rd of October 2022. Hi, I'm Gary Brightman, and this is my periodic podcast called VIBErations. Established in 2018, Vibe is a book and music shop situated in Mui Wo on Lantau Island in Hong Kong. So, what's been happening at the shop recently? We're just returning from a long break. May was our last podcast. The reason being that I've been concentrating on audiobooks production at Sound Studio 114, which is very time consuming. As a result, we have released our first produced audiobook and CD called Jewel of the Sorcerers, written and narrated by Patrick Dransfield, and launched at an event at Vibe on the 27th of August. The book is downloadable on some 50 plus platforms including Audible, Barnes & Noble, Hoopla and Google. I'm just finishing up the second book from Sound Studio 114, The Green Door, a children's book written and narrated by Stefan Gannon. On Saturday the 13th of August, Steve Bernstein performed his third and final gig at the shop before moving back to Tokyo. We wish him all the very best and know we'll see him from time to time. We had two separate talks from Adam Francis, the first being about his Snakes of Hong Kong field guide and the second about his Turtles of Hong Kong field guide. He's now working on his third field guide, The Lizards of Hong Kong, which will be out in about a year's time. In May, we celebrated our 4th anniversary with The Mutineers, playing live at Vibe for the 3rd year in a row now. They smashed it as usual. And last weekend, 4-piece, harmonising classic R&R female band The Sirens came over from Lantau Island and gave us a scorching gig. You can see all our Tiny Desk gigs and book talks on our Facebook channel, Vibe Silvermine Bay, or on our YouTube channel, Live at Vibe HK. Subscribe soon to avoid missing the action. There's been some changes at Vibe. We gave away the stand-up classic piano and said hello to the Korg electric piano. This should give us much more range and flexibility for gigs. We unveiled our new DJ console, handcrafted by in-shop designer Steve Walsh. And finally, we opened our new phone box chill-out room, also designed and built by Steve Walsh. Customers can go in, chill, take photos and videos, and play CDs to enjoy a 1970s experience. Trade has been very quiet since February, and now we operate at a loss each month. But we'll keep going to serve you, the community. And so, to this week's interview with Lantau-based entrepreneur and good friend Asha Sridhar. Asha in Sanskrit means hope. She moved to Hong Kong in 2006 with her family, husband Sridhar and daughter Meghna. They've enjoyed making Hong Kong their home. They love every facet of this wonderful city. The fast-paced life on one hand and the beautiful country parks, hiking trails and beaches on the other. They moved to Lantau Island in 2013 and made Tung Chung their home. Last year in November, they moved to the lovely little village of Tai Tei Tong in Mui Wo, so they can enjoy the serenity, beauty and slower pace of rural Hong Kong. They also wanted to indulge in their love for gardening and happy to say they have a beautiful terrace garden in their apartment. They have now hiked many of the Hong Kong and Lantau trails. Asha completed the 25-kilometre Green Power hike on multiple occasions. Asha lives her life by the motto, live in the present. The past is gone and cannot be changed, and the future is yet to be made. She is known for her optimism, never say never attitude, and she also stands by her friends, no matter what. Professionally, she runs a consulting business named Active Communication. They specialise in organisational, leadership and talent development. Asha is a certified NLP trainer and master coach, aside from having certifications in executive coaching. You can find out more on their website at activecommunication.net. So, welcome to Vibe, Asha.
Thank you, Gary. I must tell you, this is one of my favourite places in all of Mui Wo.
Good, thank you.
I love books, and I just love the way you've organised this store.
Okay, so what is your favourite book or author?
There are too many to list, but let me take a stab at it.
Yes.
Children's books, Enid Blyton.
Yeah.
I love Enid
Yes,
Blyton.
I agree.
And then, as I grew older, Agatha Christie was one of my favourites. So I still love Agatha Christie.
Yeah.
In the mystery crime genre, I like P.D. James.
Right, yes.
And of late, I have also been reading a lot of spy fiction. And there's this writer called Daniel Silva.
Yes.
And I quite enjoy his books. I mean, they are a bit predictable now, but I used to like them a lot. But some of my other favorite authors are all, funnily enough, British.
Good.
Jane Austen.
Yeah.
Robert Louis Stevenson.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Do you have a favorite musical artist?
I love Indian music.
Yes.
So I'm not much into Western music.
Okay.
And in Indian music, I'm more into the 50s and the 60s.
Right.
Music from that era.
Yeah.
So my favorite singer was a singer who was like very famous in India back then. His name is Mohammad Rafi.
Okay.
And he's no longer with us, but he was like, in my mind, the most complete singer.
Okay.
But coming to Western singers, I like Queen. Obviously, I love Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
And Bruce Springsteen.
Do you listen to music much at home? Or
All the time.
Really?
Yeah, all the time.
Good.
And I'm, again, quite old-fashioned that way. I prefer listening to my music on an iPod.
Right.
I do not have it on my phone because I don't like to be interrupted when I have my music on.
Yeah.
So that's, I listen to music all the time.
Okay.
In fact, I used to host a music show on an internet radio station.
Right.
Briefly.
Right.
Yeah.
Where was that? Here?
This was from here, but it's an internet radio station. It's called Hits of Bollywood.
Okay.
And so they
Hits of Bollywood.
Hits of Bollywood. And they got in touch with me because of my knowledge of old Hindi film music.
Right.
And they said, would you mind hosting a weekly program for us?
Yes.
So I did that for about a couple of years, where we would do short biographies of various artists.
Yes.
Music composers, singers, but from Bollywood basically. And I really loved it. Yeah.
Do you have a preferred drink?
I like coffees and I like water, but I also do like the occasional wine. I like rosé.
Okay.
And I like the red.
And do you have a life motto?
My life motto is just live in the moment, because one doesn't really know. You know, like there's this whole thing they say, right, that yesterday is gone, tomorrow is a dream.
Yes.
And it's whatever we make of the tomorrow is basically what we're doing today.
Yes.
So I believe that we always have that choice to make the most out of what we have today.
Yeah.
And in this moment.
Do you have a favourite Hong Kong walk? Do you do much walking?
I do. We've done a lot of walks, especially in the last few years. One of my favourites would have to be the Lantau Peak.
Yes.
That is such a beautiful walk.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's incredible. The views that you get, it's beautiful. Whenever I post photos of the walks that we've done and stuff, and people go, are you still in Hong Kong?
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me of a really hilarious story. So I had a cousin visiting me from New Zealand.
Yeah.
And we took the bus drive from Tung Chung to go up to Tai O.
Right.
And in between, after Shoi Hao, it just gets beautiful, right?
Yeah.
My cousin leans over and says, are we still in Hong Kong? I don't have my passport.
Do you have a favourite Hong Kong restaurant?
I like them all, actually. Again, Gary, the thing is, we are vegetarians, and so a lot of times our food choices are a bit restricted.
Yeah.
Having said that, it's actually not true. We can still get a lot of good food. There's one restaurant that I really like and enjoy. It's a Sichuan-style dry pot restaurant in Tsim Sha Tsui.
Okay.
I can't remember the name, though.
Yes.
But it's really good.
Yes.
And there is this other Chinese vegetarian restaurant in Sham Shui Po.
Right.
Brilliant.
Yes.
It's a little family run thing. It's very inexpensive. I mean, you could probably have a meal there for about $60.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
It's brilliant.
And good quality food, isn't it? Good quality vegetables. And I mean, that's one thing that I think, again, is underestimated in Hong Kong.
It is.
The everyday food is top quality. You know,
totally.
great,
I think Hong Kong is brilliant that way.
Yeah,
and also what happens
and
in this particular Sham Shui Po restaurant is they don't do much of the fake meat. So
yes.
it's just real vegetarian, like vegetarian food. Like lots of vegetables and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's quite good actually.
Faced with a python whilst walking up to the peak, and there's a python there, faced with one of them whilst walking up to the peak, what would you do?
My instinct would be run screaming for help and hope William Sargent is somewhere close by. But jokes aside, pythons are non-venomous.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, it's true.
And I think they would probably be frightened off by me and my size because I'm not tiny.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what I would probably do is just kind of move to a side and be very respectful and let them, you know,
go their way without bothering them.
And I think that would probably help with a snake. We in fact once came across a python on a walk in Tung Chung.
Right.
But it was off to the side, and it probably just had a meal because it was just lying there, like soaking in the sun, basking in the sun. But that's probably what I would do. I think that's the most sensible thing to do. To be honest with you, I mean, we should respect their habitat and their life. You know, we've encroached on their space. To be honest,
exactly.
Right?
They were here first. We weren't. What was the best advice you were ever given?
My mom.
Yeah.
She said to me that never ever give up your freedom. Never ever give up your freedom of choice.
Yeah.
And she said you are the person who can take the best decisions in your life.
Yes.
And she said never ever give that to somebody else. I tend to be a person who goes with my instinct. I'm not really somebody who really thinks through. I mean, even buying the house, for example, in Mui Wo,
amazing.
Yeah, really. It was just for me walking into that house and the vibe. Had
a positive energy. So for those that don't know, Asha bought our last property that we lived and loved for 12 years.
I know.
In Tai Tei Tong.
It's just very welcoming, right? And then on the top there was a big guitar.
Yes.
And I must tell you that my brother is really disappointed that you've taken the guitar away. It's the books and the music.
Yeah, it is. There's something about that, isn't there? Something comforting, I think.
Yeah.
Finish this sentence. I live in Hong Kong because...
It's the best place to be.
Good answer. Yeah, I think so.
As a woman, I have never felt safer in any other part of the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And I think that's the thing. And also, it just fits my value system.
Yes.
Freedom and the independence that I value so much.
Yes.
I get it here. I was dog sitting for a friend who had been who had her compulsory quarantine or whatever, and this dog wakes me up at 2:30 in the morning. And she begs me to take her for a walk in Tai Tei Tong, and I actually walked her around Mui Wo, and there was not a soul.
No.
But not for a moment did I feel unsafe. Right? And I can't imagine doing that in any other part of the world.
No.
I have a daughter who is, as you know, differently able.
Yes.
But that doesn't stop her from wanting to be more independent, and you know. So she wants to go to school by herself. She goes to school in Tung Chung. And we've kind of put her on the bus, and she takes the bus to Tung Chung by herself.
Wow.
Lovely older lady on the bus. Who's kind of decided that she's going to chaperone her.
Oh.
We don't know her. We don't speak Chinese, and she doesn't speak any English.
She looks out for her.
She looks out for her. So she basically keeps a place for her next to her on the bus.
Oh.
And when she gets on the bus, she waves out at me. Yeah, makes sure that she tells me she's fine, don't worry.
Yeah.
And then she makes sure she gets off at the right stop.
Wow.
You know, and it's just so beautiful.
Yeah, it is so beautiful. It gives you faith in humanity and
completely
how we can treat each other well, and how most people are. Most people, 90% of people in any country would be like that. Protective to a small child, protective to any sort of situation, and helpful if somebody fell over or whatever. It's
and I also like about Hong Kong is that there's a beautiful respect for tradition, even today with everything else going on, and I just love that. I love that mixture of tradition and modernity. It's just beautiful. Tomorrow
is the double 9th, I think, isn't it?
Tomorrow it is,
Yeah, you know, we have those twice a year, the grave sweepings, and I love it for its traditions.
I know,
as
me
well.
too. I like that as well.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite area of Hong Kong?
It would have to be Mui Wo. It would have to be Tai Tei Tong and the neighbouring villages.
Yeah.
Because we've actually lived in a lot of different parts of Hong Kong. We moved to Hong Kong 16 years back in 2006.
Okay.
And so we've lived in Causeway Bay, Fortress Hill, Tin Hau.
Okay, right.
A little village outside of Sai Kung, Tung Chung, and now Mui Wo.
Wow, you have.
We've actually been around.
Yeah, you have. You've been along Hong Kong Island, then
Yeah.
hopped over the other side, and then down to Tung Chung.
Yeah, the Tung Chung was good as well, and I love Mui Wo.
Yes.
Mui Wo is probably less convenient compared to Tung Chung, but I still love it. I love life here. I just love waking up in the morning to the birds and the cows.
Me too.
And those tweets are so much better than the tweets that come up on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not nasty.
Yeah, those exactly. These tweets make sense, don't they? These tweets are relaxing.
I must share with all of you. Back when I was much younger, my dream was, I used to always say that I would love to live in a village house. And this was before we came to Hong Kong.
Right.
So I would love to live in a village house where I've got nature and everything, but I must have a strong Wi-Fi. I must have a good, I must have a good entertainment. I need to have books. I need to have a good hospital so that if anything happens.
Yes.
And then I must be close enough to an airport so I can fly around.
Wow.
And look at that, I'm actually living my dream now.
Yeah, you've ticked all of those boxes.
Yeah, totally, all of them.
That's the beauty of this, isn't it? Where were you born and where did you live your early life?
So I was born in Hyderabad, which is a city in southern India.
Okay.
And my dad used to work for, back then, even now actually, they have a lot of what are called public sector companies in India. They're companies that are set up by the government, they're still kind of run by the government. And this was a company that was into making fighter planes for the Indian Air Force or under the defense equipment.
Yeah.
And so my dad used to work for that company and we had a big gated community.
Right.
So I had a really idyllic childhood.
Yeah.
Right? And it was great fun. We were in this big community and it was kind of like living in Tai Tei Tong.
Yeah, it's a big family, some extended family really.
Huge extended family.
Yeah.
And even now I'm in touch with a lot of the people that I grew up with. And it's just a great extended family even today. And so childhood was literally, I would say, magical. It was idyllic.
Yeah.
And a childhood that in retrospect, I wish every child could get that kind of a childhood.
Yes.
It was great fun, completely, free. And then I lived there for the first 21 years of my life.
Nice. Okay.
In Hyderabad.
Nice
studied
stability.
there. Yeah, nice stability. Studied there. Then got married.
Yes.
And my husband used to work for a bank in India. So he had a transferable job and we used to move around every 3 years. And that kind of suited me because I do have a gypsy bone in me. And I love the wanderlust.
Yes.
So we kind of moved around India quite a bit.
Right.
And we lived in different parts of India. So we lived in central India, western India, came back to southern India. And then I started working with Tesco.
Right, okay, that's interesting.
That's interesting.
That's random.
So Tesco was opening what's called as a back office operation in India, a shared services center in India.
Okay.
And they had plans to go up to about 8,000 people in India.
Right.
I was the 7th employee. I was called James Bond because my employee code was 007.
That's brilliant. Oh, I love it. How cool is that?
That was really cool. And so
only the 7th.
I was the 7th employee. And then I was there in the India office till we went to 4,500 people in 2 years. And so I was in charge of the learning and development and the talent development and that entire part of HR. So then I got a chance to go live in the UK for a year with Tesco and I loved it, absolutely loved it. The UK had been like a dream destination for me, which I think is, given the colonial past and everything, for a lot of Indians of my generation and before.
Yes.
England really is, we would love to go and see the Queen, we would love to go and see the Kohinoor and all of that stuff.
Yes, and that's what we've got in common. Actually, we've got a few things in common now. The flat, obviously, but I worked for Tesco's as well as a teenager.
You're kidding me?
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously?
Just stacking shelves as a teenager from Saturday job.
And I must thank Tesco because they gave me so many wonderful opportunities.
Yeah.
Wonderful opportunities. They were a really good employer, I must say.
Yes.
Worked with them for close to 10 years.
Wow.
Then I moved to Hong Kong and I continued working with Tesco in Hong Kong.
Oh, is that right? Is that how it happened?
We had they, I still say we. They have the global sourcing businesses headquartered in Hong Kong.
Right.
And so, yeah, I worked from Hong Kong, and a lot of my travel bug continued to get satisfied thanks to Tesco, because I was in charge of, again, here, the entire leadership development, talent development part for the global sourcing business.
Okay.
And that took me to places as far away as Egypt and Turkey and the Indian subcontinent.
What a great opportunity to be able to do that. And hats off to Tesco's for actually developing you from, really the infancy of their company in India to the UK and to all around the globe.
Yeah, and actually they do have a very strong focus on learning and development.
Yeah.
It's one of the few organizations I've seen where they actually put their money where their mouth is.
Yeah.
So that was a great opportunity for people who worked there, and obviously for me, because I was learning and growing as a result of that.
Yeah.
But in 2014, I kind of felt that I'd hit the glass ceiling.
Yeah,
and, I mean,
you kind of
in
know,
Hong
don't
Kong,
you?
Yeah. And if I wanted to move on, I would have had to choose to move to the UK or whatever, and for various personal reasons, did not want to do that.
Yeah.
So I decided to leave and started my own organization. And so
Brave.
Gutsy.
That was 2014.
That was in 2014.
Okay.
So I began a little, like a boutique L&D talent development kind of business, playing to my strengths.
Yes.
And I called it Chrysalis Consulting.
Oh,
so
right.
Chrysalis, the whole, process of change.
Yes. Rebirth, reborn.
Rebirth, reborn, exactly.
Yeah.
The process of change and moving towards becoming a butterfly. Yeah, that's what I've been doing in the last 8 years now.
Yeah.
But then early this year, then I actually bought another business called Active Communication.
Right.
And so now Chrysalis has kind of moved from being a chrysalis to being a proper butterfly.
Wow.
Because the logo for Active is a butterfly.
Yes. Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh, that's
so
beautiful.
I bought Active Communication, and I'm running Active Communication. We focus on strategic initiatives from a leadership point of view.
Yes.
We also focus on just leadership development at different levels.
Yes.
We have a group of alliance partners who work with us in Hong Kong, Singapore, China. And now I'm looking to develop the alliance partnerships in India, because we do have clients in India.
You're very gutsy and driven.
Just felt like the right thing to do, again, the right time and the right place, as we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
It just felt like it was the right time to expand, because Chrysalis was just me,
Yes.
And I was thinking of, so what is it that I would like to leave behind?
Yes.
And Active Communication is bigger.
Yes.
And it's an older business, so it's been around in Hong Kong for 20 years.
Okay.
So the lady who was running it decided she wanted to go back and go on a sabbatical. She hates the sabbatical word, but she was going back to Australia, and so we just decided, I bought it from her.
Take on, yes.
Yeah, and
Brilliant.
we're continuing that. So
Right. And does that have any staff attached to it? Is that just another person? Yeah,
I have another person working with me full time.
Yes.
And then, like I said, we do have a lot of the alliances that we can reach out and get in touch with. So we have alliances who are specialists in their field.
Right.
Like, for example, we have a person who's a psychologist.
Okay.
And who's got his own, counseling practice, and who also does a lot of work with us when it comes to, say, working with children, school, when we have to run programs at schools, things like that.
Okay, so is that your main market? Is it education or is it across the board?
It's across the board.
Recruitment sort of?
No, I don't do recruitment.
No.
So ours is mainly after the recruitment happens.
Yes.
And then we work with developing talent. So we work with people, like, for example, I'm working with a bank, and the bank essentially hires people, fresh talent from universities, and they go, right, we would like to develop their capabilities in communication, presentation, that kind of a thing. And so we put together a program and we do that.
Okay.
I was working with a well-known jewelry company, and they had these mid-level managers who had to be promoted to senior level roles.
Right.
And so they said, we've identified these 15 people, and we would like to put them on a sustained development path.
Yes.
And so then we designed an entire program for them, where it was like a 9-month-long program.
Right.
And it was, I don't know if you've heard of this, but then, in adult education especially, we use what is called as the 70-20-10 model.
Yes.
10% of the learning happens from attending courses.
Right. Yeah.
20% of the learning, it deepens by having social interactions.
Yes.
So you learn from your peers.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then 70% of the learning comes from actually doing it. And so this has kind of turned the whole learning industry upside down in the last few years, because obviously a lot of the time, the learning, the biggest investment would happen in bringing somebody to run a workshop.
Yes.
But actually, that doesn't give you much value for your investment. Right?
Yeah, it's kind of one-off type of
So
activity.
the 9-month program that we designed, and I've done that for a few different organizations, was about integrating the 70-20-10 model.
Okay.
And looking at bringing in peer-to-peer coaching, mentoring for the 20%.
Yeah.
And also bringing in projects, bringing in actual job-related stuff that they can actually go back and practice their skills on.
To set that up is a big leap of faith and a big bunch of money, to get going, and then to carry that on for 8 years. And now it sounds like you've got some reasonably chunky clients out there.
Touch wood, yes.
Yes,
I think the big thing there, Gary, to be honest, is it's about the word of mouth.
Yes.
Because in this industry,
very much,
the product is the trainer.
Yes,
right? So I'm the product.
Yes.
And so obviously a lot of times it comes back to people having taking that leap of faith to say, oh, I don't know you, but then I'm going to trust you. And then, oh, you've delivered it, so I'm coming back to you.
Yes.
So that's the important thing. And so a lot of times it's that return customers that bring us the money.
Yes.
To be honest, I'm not very good at
cold calling
or trying and
picking up the phone.
So I've been lucky that way, that I get a lot of people coming back
referrals
to me.
and which is
that's been good for me as well. So it's been good. It's been busy. But we're now going to get into the typically lean phase of our season, because the Christmas and Chinese New Year time is typically lean, and so I'm actually thinking of doing something maybe doing a podcast, and I'm really keen to know how I should go at setting up a new podcast.
Of course, because that's how we got talking about doing this podcast today, wasn't it, really? You were saying, I know you do podcasts. Yeah, well, I tell you how I kind of set up then a couple of years ago. Running this shop, I felt that I wanted this shop to be popularised more in the new territories and in Hong Kong side. I felt that everybody knew us on Lantau, and that when I bought this place, it had been going for 16 years, so everybody knew there was a bookshop in Mui Wo, but they didn't know that it was now a music shop as well, and that we had, we would have live bands here, we would give talks and things. So I thought, I need a platform to do that. And 2 years ago, as today, it's all about podcast type of thing, isn't it? So I thought, okay, I've been to film school, I can sound edit, I can video edit, I know about structure. So the first thing it seemed to me is, how do I make an interesting podcast with the right structure, but then also let me to sort of feed out some information about the shop? Because again, I don't think people would go searching for podcasts on bookshops, because they generally want a certain genre. They don't necessarily want a whole thing thrust at them. So that was the kind of motivations for doing it. And then I thought, well, okay, I need to sort of structure it. So I thought about that for sort of long and hard, and I thought, well, I've got a good message to give out, and that's what are we doing here this week, what are we going to do here next week, who's coming here to perform, who's coming here to talk, have we got any special books or music on offer. So that was easy. That's an easy way of opening the podcast. And then I thought, working here for 4.5 years, I've got to know all the other retailers. We wander around the streets, we're probably each other's biggest supporters, if you like, because I'm buying food from Southside or Pushpa or Cafe Paradise, so I'm getting drink from Sol. So we all knew each other, and it seemed to me everybody had the same thing, that they weren't very good at publicising themselves. So I thought, why don't I just interview them?
That's such a great idea.
And then I can get it out there. And it actually, when I started interviewing people, I got a lot of thanks from people saying, great, I always wondered where Pushpa came from, that runs the deer horn. I didn't know the backstory, and then people would say to me, "Oh, could you interview Tom at Paradiso? I wouldn't mind knowing a bit more about him." So people are intrigued, and it's very small town, small villagey type stuff. So I knew I had to scale it up a little bit as well, and so I have got friends that that are sort of directors, actors, or different people in the media who I interview here as well, for sort of to mix it up a bit. But so I just started bringing people here, interviewing for an hour, and then editing down to about half an hour, and then just talking about how people get in touch with us and all the rest of it.
Right.
So that's the whole structure
Yeah.
sort of there, and it sort of ebbs and it flows. I think the important thing is to not say, I'm going to do a 30-minute podcast, I'm going to do a 20-minute podcast, or an hour-long podcast, because then you end up trying to fill up that time.
Got it.
Or you see that time as a barrier.
Got it,
I've done my 15 minutes, right, I'm going to have to stop talking to you now, I'm sorry. Yeah, goodbye. Yeah, but so I didn't want that, because I think when you interview people, it's a very ebb and flow, and it's, you know, people relax and people talk about things, and you suddenly pick up on certain things. So all of our podcasts are varying from maybe 25 minutes to an hour.
Right, got it.
And I'm not programming for anybody's, you know, schedule other than my own.
Yeah.
So we do that. We put it out there. The next biggest important thing that I learned was a platform to put it on.
Right.
So I always put it out on YouTube, and YouTube has been great for me, and YouTube has built me up with subscribers, and I can send that link all over. I can put it on Instagram, I can put it on Facebook, I can put it on LinkedIn.
Sure, yeah.
So I can get the coverage that way. But I wanted to, for me, a holy grail was to get it on Spotify and iTunes and the big boys.
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah. So,
because you want to be global, and you want to say to your mates in the UK or US or Australia, yeah, you can get it as well, you know, on a platform that you because everybody gets used to their own podcasting platform.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a great bit of advice a very good friend gave me was use Podbean. So Podbean.com. The good thing about them is they are a platform that knows how to connect to all the other platforms.
Right, okay.
Because I tried for ages to go direct onto Spotify, and there's all sorts of barriers about publishing on there, and of course they don't want everybody just putting their rubbish on there, because it's going to clutter up their servers.
They prefer to have Meghan Markle, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. Rather than get Gary Brightman
to Meghan Markle.
Yeah, exactly. And then they just publish it onto all the other platforms for me.
Okay.
So I do the YouTube thing, but I'm on everywhere, so I can say to everybody, I came up with a good name, so I call it VIBErations.
I love that, by the way.
Yeah, so it's vibe, the shop, and vibrations
yeah.
As in communications or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's a question of how often you want to do it. I started doing it weekly, but clearly I was really struggling to get everything edited and done on a weekly, so I slipped to bi-weekly. And then as time and projects came in, I sort of slipped it again to sort of monthly. So that would be my advice on podcasting, I suppose.
I also want to kind of look at what the hook needs to be, because obviously, again, like you said, you know, something you said really struck me was, what would people want to listen to about? I mean, there's tons, and why should you listen to me, right?
Yeah. I looked around locally for, and it was clear to me that people want to know about other people's lives and other people's journeys. And always a question as an expat in a city is, well, why did you come here? You know, what are you doing here, and how are you getting on, and how are you surviving, and you know, not where are you going on holiday anymore? Did you have COVID? You know, all those sort of things. Yeah. So, you know, that's the commonality of, you know, we are visitors in this city.
You know, I mean, and I remember when this whole COVID thing happened and the great exodus was happening.
Yeah.
I had people coming up and saying, so when are you leaving? And I was like, I'm not leaving.
Yes.
And they go, oh, but everybody else is going. I was like, I can't answer for everybody else.
No, exactly.
This is home for me.
And me. And me, yeah.
You know, so obviously I'm not going to leave my home.
Yes.
Because I don't have another home to go to.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's, I hear you. So I like that whole thing around looking at personally what would help, what would so one of the models that we work with a lot is a model that was developed by, there's a leadership guru in the world called Ken Blanchard, who's famous for his book The 1 Minute Manager.
Oh yes, I know it. Yeah.
And Ken Blanchard talks about how he talks about how leadership, I mean power comes from 5 points.
Right.
So there's position, which is obviously, you know, oh, I'm a CEO. I'm a lawyer. You know, you get the power that comes with the position.
Yes.
Then there's task, based on what task you do.
Yeah.
So, for example, like you said, I do audio editing or video editing.
Yes.
But the task gives you certain power because you know that gives you certain knowledge. So there's knowledge power.
Yes.
Right? Or there is relationship power. Who do I know? Right? Who am I related to? But then the most important power point is personal power.
Right.
What's the power that I have as a person that makes me powerful or influential, I don't know, which remains with me when everything else is gone. And so I'm just thinking, maybe that could be something that I could work on. I
think it's all, about the audience as well. Who are you trying to say what to? And how old is your audience? Are you? I'm just working on a thing at the moment for kids. I've just done a kids book, audio book, and now we're going to do a little sort of thing. And it makes you focus on age groups.
Yes.
Yeah, because you can quite easily be an old person sounding out of your depth to a young person, or similarly, you're not quite in phase with what everybody's saying. True. So you're not fitting. The market's wrong.
Yeah.
So
my demography is very important.
Demographic, is
you're
another
right.
thing
You've
to
given
think
me a
about.
lot to think about. Thank you.
You're very entrepreneurial and you're very driven, and I'm very impressed by how you've got to where you are, and
thank you.
And you have the same values as I do, and you've got Diwali coming up.
Oh yeah,
and that. So are you doing anything for?
We do.
Those?
I mean, Diwali obviously is big for us, but October is a big month by and large for festivities in India.
Yes.
And the moment as we speak, we're actually going through Dussehra, which is a 10-day festival.
Right.
And interestingly enough, this is the festival where it celebrates woman power.
Okay. Oh, good.
It's the feminine power that's celebrated. So we have a 10-day, like a 9-day celebration. On the 10th day is like a culmination of the 9 days, and it's 3 days each for the goddess of learning, the goddess of wealth, and the goddess of Shakti or power, Durga. And so that's what's going on right now. And then end of October is when we have Diwali, which is the festival of lights. Again, it's a beautiful time, and I love it, and I miss that of India.
Yeah.
But thankfully, because now we are in the village house, we are planning to light up the whole house and use the outside terrace to put up some oil lamps and stuff.
Yeah. So Asha, thank you very much for coming to Vibe today to talk to us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Gary.
You can listen to all our Vibrations podcasts published on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Amazon, and a whole host of others. Or you can watch on our YouTube channel under Live at VibeHK, or follow the links for my website at vibehk.com. Hopefully, our next podcast will feature an interview with Vibe's own Asha Sridhar, who is currently painting a Wong-Kar Wai-influenced mural on our shop shutters. The opening and closing music comes from Celestial and is called Green Island Dub, and is on the Retrospect vinyl album, on sale at Vibe. Finally, a reminder that Vibe is open 7 days a week, every day of the year, from 12 noon until 6:30 p.m. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for listening to the 42nd Vibe Book and Music Shop podcast called VIBErations. I'm Gary Brightman. You get my vibe?
Can you imagine what this old island must have looked like to those Dutch sailors when they first saw it? Fresh green. Like a dream of a new world.
They must have held their breath, afraid it would disappear before they could touch it.